In the silent depths of the Pacific, where sunlight dies and pressure crushes steel like paper, the USS Montana glided like a black shark, a Virginia-class attack submarine, carrying 135 souls and enough nuclear firepower to erase cities. She was both guardian and ghost. Among her crew was Lieutenant Commander Evelyn Rose Harlow, Eve to those who loved her, and Rose to the men who followed her without question. Eve was 34, with storm gray eyes and auburn hair always pulled into a tight bun that never dared loosen, even 600 feet beneath the sea. She was the boat's weapons officer, the one who held the keys to 24 Trident missiles that could turn night into day on the other side of the world. But what most people never saw was the small silver locket she wore under her poopy suit. Inside it, a picture of her 8-year-old daughter, Lily Grace, blowing bubbles in a sunlit grass that Eve had not touched in 9 months. Her second in command was Master Chief Noah Alexander Kane, 41, built like a lighthouse, with a voice that could calm a panic or break a man in half. Noah had been on submarines since Eve was learning algebra. He had ink on his forearms, an anchor for his father wore, and beneath it, in delicate script, the name Amelia, his wife, lost to cancer while he was under the Arctic ice 3 years ago. Noah never spoke of her, but every time the boat went deep, he touched that name like a prayer. The third soul that mattered was the youngest, Ensign Gabriel Finn Whitaker, 23, fresh from Annapolis, with golden hair and eyes the color of shallow Caribbean water. Finn was the communications officer, the one who listened to the world above while they hid below. He still believed in heroes. Eve and Noah had stopped believing years ago, but something Finn hadn't yet noticed. Their mission was classified, Black Iris. For 72 days they had stalked a new Chinese ballistic missile, sub through the South China Sea. No one was allowed to know they were there. Not Washington, not the Chinese, not even their own families. Absolute silence, absolute readiness. On day 68, everything cracked open. Finn picked up a faint signal, a distress beacon, American coming from 400 miles north. A fishing boat, the Sea Lark, was sinking after a collision with an unmarked freighter. 37 souls, including 12 children, on a marine biology summer camp. They were taking on water fast. Estimated time until foundering, 4 hours. The captain, Commander Daniel Reyes, called Eve, Noah, and Finn to the wardroom. The map glowed red. "We are under strict orders," Reyes said, voice flat. "No surfacing. No transmission. No deviation. If we break radio for help, we reveal our position. Beijing will know exactly where an American nuclear boat is hiding. The mission fails. Maybe the balance of power shifts for a generation." Eve's jaw tightened. 37 people, sir. 12 of them kids. "I know what's at stake, Rose," Reyes answered. "I also know what $3 trillion and 20 years of secrecy are worth." Noah leaned forward, forearms like bridge cables. "With respect, sir, we can surface, launch the RHIB, pull them out in under 40 minutes, and be gone before any Chinese asset gets a visual. We've done it before." Reyes shook his head. "Not this close to Hainan. Not with a boomer shadowing us. One wrong move and we start World War III underwater." Silence pressed heavier than the ocean outside. Finn, barely breathing, whispered, "There are children." Reyes looked at him like he was a ghost. Dismissed. They left the wardroom one by one, but none of them went to their racks. At Aero 200, Eve found Noah in the torpedo room, staring at the Mk-48s as if they could give answers. "We can't let them die," she said. "Noah's orders," Noah replied. But his voice cracked on the last word. Eve stepped closer. "You have a daughter too, Noah, somewhere up there. Imagine it was her on that boat." He closed his eyes. When he opened them, the lighthouse had become a volcano. "What are you suggesting, Rose?" "Mutiny," she said, soft as a confession. Noah exhaled like a man letting go of his own soul. "Then we do it right." They needed Finn. The kid could spoof the comms boy, make it look like the distress call came from somewhere else, buy them 12 minutes of confusion in the Chinese command net. Finn didn't hesitate. "My little sister was on a boat like that last summer," he said. "If it was her, I'd want someone to break every rule in the book." At AO 237, the three of them stood in control. Captain Reyes was in his cabin, trusting his crew that had never betrayed him before. Eve took the periscope stand. Noah took the diving officer's chair. Finn took the radio shack. Eve's voice rang clear through the 1MC. This is the weapons officer. We are executing an emergency humanitarian surfacing. Any man who cannot follow this order in good conscience may stand aside without judgment. The rest of you on stations for surface. Not a single man stood aside. The Montana broke the surface like a leviathan born again. Moonlight exploded across the sail. The sea was black glass and screaming wind. The Sea Lark was already listing hard, lights flickering. They launched both RHIBs in under 4 minutes, a record that would never be written down. Noah led the first boat, Eve the second. Finn stayed aboard to jam any incoming radar. The rescue was chaos and grace. Children passed hand to hand over gunnels. A 6-year-old boy clung to Noah's neck so hard he left bruises shaped like small fingerprints. Eve carried a teenage girl with a broken arm who kept whispering, "Thank you, ma'am," like a heartbeat. 37 souls pulled from the edge, 0 lost. As the last child came aboard the sub, Chinese helicopters appeared on the horizon. Too late, but close enough to see the American flag painted on the sail. Reyes met them in the passageway when they returned, soaked and shaking with adrenaline. His eyes were hollow. "You've probably just rewritten the world," he said quietly. Eve met his gaze. "Or we just remembered why it's worth saving." Court-martial awaited them in Pearl Harbor. The mission had been compromised. Careers were over. But when the story finally leaked, because stories like this always do, the American people rose up in a tide no admiral could fight. Charges were dropped. Medals were given in secret. Eve, Noah, and Finn were quietly separated from the Navy, ghosts once more. Years later, on a quiet beach in Maine, Eve sat with her daughter Lily, now 17 and fierce as her mother. A young man with golden hair and Caribbean eyes approached, carrying a little girl on his shoulders. "Mom," Lily said, grinning. "This is Uncle Finn and his daughter Grace." Noah arrived last, older now, but the lighthouse still stood. In his wallet he carried a new photograph, Amelia's name tattooed on his arm, and beside it, 37 small handprints in different colored inks, one for every life pulled from the sea that night. They never spoke of the Montana again in public. But every July 17th, 4 families gathered on the same beach. They flew no flag, sang no anthem. They simply watched the sunset bleed into the ocean and remembered the night they chose. Children over countries, love over orders, and humanity over the abyss. And somewhere far below, in the cold and dark where monsters swim, the USS Montana, now under a new captain, still carried their story in her steel bones. Because some acts of courage are too large to be classified. Some lights are too bright to ever go out.